स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. Offering my Sastanga Pranam at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna, Mother Sharda Devi and Swami Vivekananda, I offer my heartfelt pranams to all of you. When I was a brahmacharin in India, in Bangalore Ramakrishna Center, Basvanagudi, I was reading the life of Swami Vivekananda and teachings of Master, Mother, reading the Upanishad. And I also used to put to practice their teaching to some extent. I had to walk from Ramakrishna Ashram, the main ashram, to Ramakrishna Vidyarthi Mandiram. It was about quarter kilometer, 1/4 kilometer. After the night class, after the supper at 9 o'clock, we would finish our supper at 9 o'clock. So 9 to 9:30 or 10 o'clock would be the night class. Revered Harshanandaji Maharaj would take the class from readings of different saints or some other teachings, the reminiscences. So it would go up to 10:30. So after finishing the class, we used to go to Holy Mother's Rock, do the pranam, and then go back to Ramakrishna Vidyarthi Mandiram. So it was about a quarter kilometer. So during the Amavasya or no moon night, there would be not much light, it would be very dark. So we used to go through the rock and go down. There was little trees and other things, the stones were to cross that. No proper road was there. Now it has all, the road has come up, good nice road. Then the path was not so nice. We used to walk. There was one pole, electric pole, there was a light there, tube light. So under that, because of the insects, frogs used to come to eat that insects. Because a lot of frogs were there. There was one snake which had made its home under a culvert or a rock. And it would always stay there, eat the frog, and it was very happy. It had grown quite big, the snake. So we used to see that snake lying there, or only the head coming out of that stone and staying there. So we had become friends. We used to walk, and it would be always there. It would not harm us. We would also not take much cognizance of that snake. We used to be going. So one day it was dark night. Then I didn't see the snake. I was in that spiritual mood after the class, walking back in the dark night. There was no electricity also, light was not there. So after I came near that, I could see the snake there. Then I started searching the darkness. Then I saw that snake is just lying. It has eaten a very big frog and it is stuck up in the neck and it can't move. So it is just lying by the side of my leg. So you see, when that is, whatever you might tell that I am not the body, I am the Atman, I am the Parabrahman, but that fear of life is from lives together, it will be there. We just new brahmacharins. The moment I saw the snake lying down at my feet, it is reflex action. The message will not go to the brain and it will not think, and it will started running from that place, not without any command of my brain or something. It was reflex action, started running. That too how? I was running, galloping like this, because if the snake is coming below and biting my legs, so maybe the spinal cord itself gave the brain didn't give the command, it was a reflex action. So I started galloping. I went for long, then I put the brake and stopped and told, what is this? You are claiming that you are not the body, you are the Atman, you are the Parabrahma Swarupa, you are the Lord, child of the Lord. You are so afraid for the life and running. Then I stopped. Now I wanted to test my resilience. I went back and the snake couldn't move because it was stuck up. Then I told, see, now you should feel that you are not the body, you are the Atman, go. Then thoughtfully, I touched that snake. The snake couldn't move, touched that snake, and I walked back. So now I told one something which is very important. What is that? We started at that time in 1992. That was the time. So we were practicing. The moment we read something, we used to put it into practice. So let us see how in the life of Swami Vivekananda, he used to put this philosophy exists in our heart, infinite strength is in our heart. So how would Swami Vivekananda put it into practice in his life? Let us go through that. Swami Vivekananda is explaining about his itinerant days. He was walking all over India without any money. He used to moving about, begging on alms and then going to different houses. Sometimes he would be living in the palace, sometimes in the hut, in the forest, in the temple. So speaking to Girish Chandra Ghosh about his wandering days, Swami Vivekananda told of an event which happened in Khetri, somewhere between this Gujarat and Rajasthan. It is exactly Rajasthan. In the course of my wanderings, says Swami Vivekananda, I was in a certain place where people came to me in crowds and asked for instructions. Though it seems almost unbelievable, people came made me talk for 3 days and nights without giving me a moment sleep, without food. Swami Vivekananda is talking to all those people. So those people who were coming with so much of respect and asking the questions and sitting in the satsang of Swami Vivekananda, they did not even ask me whether I had taken my food or breakfast or anything, says Vivekananda. On the third night, when all the visitors had left, a low-caste poor man was a cobbler. So the cobblers, they think in India that as a low-caste people, so they will keep them far away. Low-caste poor man came up to me and said, Swamiji, I am much pained to see that you have not had any food. These 3 days, you must be very tired and hungry. Indeed, I have noticed that you have not even taken a glass of water all these 3 days. I thought that the Lord himself had come in the form of this low-caste man to test me. Swami Vivekananda is telling that he thought that the Lord himself had come in the form of this low-caste man to test me. I asked him, Swami Vivekananda is telling, I asked him, can you give me something to eat? The man said, Swamiji, my heart is yearning to give you food, but I'm a low-caste cobbler. How will you take food in my hand? If you allow me, I shall be most glad to bring flour, lentils, and other things, and you may cook them yourself. At that time, according to the monastic rules, I did not touch fire. So I said to him, you had better give me the chapatis cooked by you. I shall gladly take them. Hearing this, that man shrank in fear. He was a subject of the Maharaja of Khetri and was afraid that if the Raja came to hear that a cobbler had given chapatis to a sannyasin, he would be severely dealt with and possibly banished from the kingdom. Now, Swami Vivekananda told him, however, that he need not fear that the Maharaja would not punish him. He did not believe me, but out of kindness of his heart, even though he feared the consequences, he bought me cooked food. See, he didn't care for his property may be taken away or you may be put out of the kingdom, banished from the kingdom. He didn't care for that. But he had such a good heart. He cooked food and bought it for me. He bought me the cooked food. I doubted just then whether it would have been more palatable even if from heaven Indra, the king of the gods, Indra himself, king of the Devas, had held Amrita, ambrosia, in a golden basin for me. I think that would be less tastier than this chapati or the rotis and the lentils and other things which this poor man had bought. So Vivekananda tells, I shed tears of love and gratitude and thought, thousands of such large-hearted men and women live in lowly, poor huts, the so-called low-caste houses, and we ourselves who talk of, boast of the Atman and Paramatman present in everybody, we boast of such thing, we despise them as low caste and untouchables. When I became well acquainted with the Maharaja of the Khetri, I told him of the noble act of this poor man, the cobbler. Accordingly, within a few days, the latter was called to the presence of the Raja Maharaja. But that poor man was frightened beyond words. The man came shaking all over, thinking that some dire punishment was to be inflicted upon him. But the Maharaja praised him and put him beyond all wants. He gave him a lot of money, land, and made him rich. So now you see Swami Vivekananda, he is telling us whether he is poor or rich, whether he is educated or uneducated, it is the Lord who is present in everybody. See the kindness of this man. Now, Swami Vivekananda, explaining about his itinerant days, he tells, once I was moving through different places in India. I walked continuously for many days and I had made a vow. What is that vow, Vrata? Not to beg alms on my own from anybody. If somebody of themselves gave me some food or alms, I would take any food. I'll be just walking, not even looking backward. That was the vrata, the vow Swami Vivekananda had taken. He would stop only if someone stopped him and on their own offered him alms. But how can anyone know that Swami Vivekananda has undertaken such a vow? After all, alms were available once in 2 days. One evening, walking alone, Swami Vivekananda came to a rich man's horse stable. It had already been 2 days since Swami Vivekananda had eaten anything. He seemed to be very weak. When the servant of that rich man's stable, horse stable, saw him, he came and called me and saluted me. He stopped me and asked, Babaji, did you get any alms today? No, son, I haven't got anything. Now the servant lay inside his house and gave him water to wash his hands and feet. Later, he bought his own share of food and chutney and gave chapati and chutney to Swami Vivekananda. Now for 2 days he had not eaten. Swamiji started eating that with relish, chapati and chutney. Now the chutney was too spicy, full of chilies. But Swami Vivekananda also loved very much chilies and hot food. He finished everything happily. But as soon as he finished eating the food, there was a terrible burning sensation in his stomach. Why? The food was empty the stomach was empty for 2 days, nothing in the stomach. So when he ate that chutney of the chili, too much of hot chili, spicy chili chutney, and that chapati started burning his stomach. Now, Swami Vivekananda couldn't withstand the terrible burning sensation in his stomach, unable to bear it, in pain. The servant was startled and said, Oh, what have I done? I have killed a sadhu. He began to cry, beating his chest. It must have been so hot. Swami Vivekananda is thinking in his mind, I ate so much of spicy food on an empty stomach. But just then, a man with a basket on his head was selling something and going by. He heard the servant's cry and came down to see there. And Swami Vivekananda asked him, What is that in your basket? I am selling tamarind fruits, tamarind. imli. That is what I wanted now. Swamiji took some tamarind from him and put it into water and drank the tamarind water because it is tartaric acid. That will neutralize this chili spices, tartaric acid, the tamarind water. The burning sensation calmed down. He rested for a while and thanked the servant, and he left from there. He would not stay in that place. He would be walking. He would be in the forest. Swami Vivekananda is telling, while walking in the scorching sun, I collapsed at the foot of the tree. I sank down completely weak. My legs would not even move. Now I tried to open my eyes, but eyelids were heavy and it closed again and again. The brain seemed to be completely empty, unable to think. Then, as if in the darkness of darkness, a new light suddenly appeared in my mind. He started thinking, what is that? How can I be weak? Am I not the Almighty Self, the Atman, the Paramatman, the Parabrahman? How can these senses of mine, the sense organs and the body, dominate my soul, the Atman? As soon as this feeling arose in my mind, an infinite power gushed from within. A stream of light gushed through my mind, and the energy for the senses returned. Now, Swami Vivekananda tells he stood up, stepped forward, and walked quickly again. We have that infinite strength in us, but because of our ignorance, we are the body and the senses and the mind and ego, and we tend to think that we are weak and feeble and we are incapable. Swamiji is showing us the way, how to bring out that strength and energy at the time of the crisis, whatever crisis it might be. Now, let us go through some more incidences from the life of Swami Vivekananda and the words of Swami Vivekananda, so that we can get that strength, we can manifest that strength of the Atman which is infinite within us. Now, Swami Vivekananda is telling that once it occurred to Swamiji that going from place to place and begging for food from door to door was, after all, not the aim for realization of which he had renounced his home. In a letter written about this time to one of his brother disciples, he says dejectedly, I am going about taking food at others' houses shamelessly and without the least compunction like a crow. On the occasion in question, the thought came to him, let me beg no longer. What benefit is it to the poor to feed me? If they save a handful of rice or wheat flour, they can feed their own children with it. They are so poor. Anyway, what is the use of sustaining this body if I cannot realize God? A desperate spiritual dissatisfaction and ascetic mood came upon me, as sometimes it happens with great souls. In this moment of despair, Swami Vivekananda determined to plunge into a forest and, like some rishi of old, let the body drop from starvation and exhaustion. That is called now giving up the body without taking food and water. Without more ado, he entered a thick forest that stretched for miles before him and walked the whole day without food. Evening approached. Faint with fatigue, Swami Vivekananda sank to the ground beneath a tree alone, fixing his mind on the Lord within and looking vacantly into the distance. After some time, he saw in the night a tiger, hungry tiger, approaching him. Nearer and nearer it came. Then it sat down at some distance from Swami Vivekananda. Now, Both are looking at each other. That hungry tiger is ready to pounce upon Swami Vivekananda and eat him. Here Swami Vivekananda, tired, fallen down under the tree, is looking at that hungry tiger. Now Swami Vivekananda thought, this is right. Both of us are hungry. After all, this body has not been the means of absolute realization. Therefore, by it, no good to the world should be of service, at least to this hungry beast. He was reclining there, all the while, calm and motionless, looking at the tiger, waiting for the tiger to pounce upon him at any moment. But for some reason or other, that animal made off in its own accord. It stood up and went away. Now Swami Vivekananda thought that it might yet return and waited for the tiger to offer his body as food to it. But it power came upon him. The content of this experience was known only to himself. Let us see what is that content, what came upon him in another occasion. When he was in America, while talking to the audience there, he gave out that experience. And what is that on another occasion? Also, he became dizzy from exhaustion and could walk no further. The sun was intolerably hot. Now, Swami Vivekananda is telling to the audience many times in California. Many times he was in similar condition during his wandering life, but he asserted his higher nature and strength flowed back to him. Later, in one of his lectures in California, Swami Vivekananda said, many times I have been in the jaws of death, starving, foot sore, wounds on my feet, and weary. For days and days I had no food, and often could walk no further. I would sink down under a tree, and life would seem to be ebbing away. I could not speak. I could scarcely think. But at last, the that idea started bubbling up like a spring from the ground. What is that idea? Now, Swamiji is telling what was that thought. This is very, very important for us to practice. He's telling, I have no fear. I have no death. Never was I born. Never did I die. I never hunger or thirst. Soham, soham. Soham means saha aham. That Parabrahman I am, that Paramatman I am that Soham, Soham, I am it. Eternal forces cannot crush me. They are my servant. Assert thy strength. Thou, Lord of the Lord. Now he's telling the Atman or the Paramatman who is present in us is the Lord of the Lord and God of the gods. Regain thy lost empire. Arise and walk and stop not. And I would rise up reinvigorated. And here I am today living and present in front of you in California. Thus, he's telling them, whatever darkness come, assert that reality which is within you. And everything adverse must vanish. For, after all these experiences you are having is but a dream. It is not true. It is false. Everything is false. Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. Ramakrishna would always tell, God alone is true. All else is unreal. When Ramakrishna went to the Divine Mother, the Mahamaya was conjured up this whole Maya, this universe, created this universe, and asked the Mother, Mother, I have not learned Sanskrit and Vedanta. I want to learn, but the essence of Vedanta. I don't want to learn Sanskrit, Vedanta, and all that in. You are the Divine Mother. You are the creator of this everything. You are the essence of Vedanta. Please give me the essence of Vedanta. Then the Divine Mother replied to Ramakrishna, my son, the essence of Vedanta is Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. The Lord alone is true, all else is illusory, false. So why are we worried and crushing ourselves to this illusory world? The Lord alone is true. So Swami Vivekananda is telling, what is that? Whenever darkness comes, assert this reality, and everything adverse, all the difficulties and problems must vanish. For after all this is but a dream. Mountain high, though the difficulties appear, terrible and gloomy, though all things seems they are but Maya, unreal. Fear not, and it is banished. Crush it, and it vanishes. Stamp upon it, and it dies. So, see, he faced the difficulties, not just telling some theoretical words, but he faced the difficulty and exerted and manifested the Atman, the Parabrahman, the infinite strength within him. Why should the Shiva Avatara, the avatar of Shiva, the greatest of the Saptarishis, take a human body, is suffering, to show us that we can come out and manifest this wonderful strength which is already within us. You are not weak, mighty self. How can these bodies and senses dominate your soul? No, it cannot. Now, every time this happened, Swamiji would bring out that in the last days, when he was on his deathbed, suffering from so many diseases which he had taken all the sins from his disciples. Now he was in very bad situation, bedridden. Then he saw, for some reasons, Swami Shivanandaji or Brahmanandaji had sickness and they were suffering. He told, in that sickness, he told him, see, whenever I used to be sick and my body used to be in trouble, then I used to remember, what is that? Aham Brahmasmi. The Upanishadic statement, I am that Brahman. And the body consciousness would vanish and I would be one with the Brahman. This is how he could overcome that pain and everything, the disease. So, at least it may not be possible to that extent, but that is also there in us. Exert it, manifest it. Pray to the Lord. That is what you are telling again and again in the Gayatri Mantra. Dhiyo yo naha prachodayat. Let that intellect, let that I am one with the Atman, I am one with God, I am one with the Parabrahman, this intellect, prachodayat, inspire in me, manifest in me. You pray for that again and again daily, but you do not know the meaning. If with this idea, if you pray the Gayatri Mantra, you utter that, let the Lord manifest or allow, inspire that intellect, dhi, yo naha, in all of us, that we are all one with that Brahman, Parabrahman, God. Then you can overcome all the troubles and challenges in your life. Let Lord inspire that intellect. Dhiyo yo naha prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.